Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. If not, I suggest that you grab some, for those of you who are in person, grab some headphones from the back so that you are better able to hear. So we have a packed schedule for this event today, so we're going to go ahead and get started right on time. I want to welcome everyone who are both joining us physically here in the pavilion as well as online. If you haven't joined any Water Pavilion events yet this day, let me be the first one to welcome you to the opening day of the first ever Water and Climate Pavilion at a COP. It's really exciting to actually be here in person, and I can say on a personal level, it's really nice to see a bunch of you physically, not in your computer squares. So that's very exciting. Although we now have this reverse Zoom because I can see everyone's bodies but not their faces because of the masks. So, anyways. Without further ado, I think we should be getting the agenda pulled up here in a second. But if I didn't introduce myself first, my name is Ingrid Timbo. I'm the Policy Director at the Alliance for Global Water Adaptation. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to this event where we are going to be focusing on a very new, exciting project called the Water Tracker for National Climate Planning. I'm welcoming you on behalf of the number of organizations that are involved with this project, including the Global Water Partnership, GWP, Sanitation and Water for All, SWA, and UNICEF. And we receive support for this project from UK Aid and also from the Dutch government. So welcome everyone to this event. I'm really excited. We have a lot of really great speakers today who are going to talk about the work that the Water Tracker is already doing. It's very exciting because we launched the Water Tracker back in May of this year at the Petersburg Climate Dialogue. And I'm happy to say that we are already working with a number of countries to implement the tracker. We're going to hear from those countries today, and also from some of the other countries involved with the Adaptation Action Coalition, or AAC, which this project is a part of. So I think we've got the agenda up. So I'm not going to go through it myself. We're just going to go ahead and get started. First up, we have Mr. Vijay Rangarajan, the Director General of America and Overseas Territories for the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office of the UK government. Director General, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you all very much for coming. I hope you can hear me. So that's my title. I actually do global health and climate change, and those are the areas I do, which is why I'm here. There are a few things I just want to say at the beginning to just frame the debate really as we go. First of all, thank you, Ingrid. Thank you to all our partners at AGWA for organizing this, and it was great to see lots of friends and old friends like Henk Ovink, who's going to speak immediately after me on this issue. I mean, the importance of the issue shows a bit why we're doing this on day one of COP. Water is absolutely crucial. It has been even more crucial, and I think the importance is obvious when you look at what we're living through in a global pandemic at the moment. The investments that we're putting in to better water, to sanitation, to health, the whole WASH agenda, the infrastructure that is then needed, all of this is based around water. And that's just at the moment. We all know that water supply and water in general are so threatened and so changed by climate change. We are going to see everything from floods, and I won't go into them, you all know that better than I do, to droughts, to great changes in water, in a way that is profoundly unfair and very destabilizing. And not just the health issues and the people issues, but our entire agricultural systems, food systems as a whole, sustainable agriculture. And then finally, water is one of the absolutely key issues around adaptation as a whole. In this COP, and as COP presidency, we're putting several themes much higher on the agenda than even in previous COPs. One of those is adaptation, and you probably heard in the opening session how important adaptation is and how crucial it is now that we know that the world is going to warm. Whatever we do, we are going to have significant warming. We have to adapt to that. And I think listening to Prime Minister Mia Mottley really gave a very clear idea of why that was so crucial. The second thing is we know that water use is going to get even more difficult. We are using water, the rate of increase is something like twice the rate of population growth. So this is not an issue that gets easier as we get more efficient, as it does in other issues like energy use. It is profoundly harder. The second big issue, which we're trying to really elevate in importance at this COP, is nature and nature-based solutions. There's a whole day coming. We will see some remarkable things and some really quite major commitments by governments. But I just want to make the link here, which is nature is an absolutely core part of, and nature-based solutions, a core part of handling this challenge that we face on water. And we'll come back to that, I'm sure, more later in this event. I was always very struck. I've just come back from working in Brazil for several years. The protection of springs there, where rivers flow, has been absolutely crucial to much of what they have done in terms of water. In the UK, tree planting to stop flooding has been absolutely crucial, and our Environment Agency is doing a huge amount there. We have come late to this party, and many others have done much more. So I think, and this is really my absolutely key point for today, learning from each other, and the UK by no means being great at this. We are all learning how we do this better. Around you in this amazingly beautiful parts of Scotland, you will see some remarkable degraded land, deeply susceptible to flooding. You've probably experienced some flooding in the last couple of days, because I certainly have. And that is really exactly the consequence of some of the choices we have made over the last 100 years, which we now have to reverse when it comes to reforestation. So the links I really wanted to make, just as framing this, are absolute centrality of water, core to the adaptation agenda, absolute importance of nature-based and nature-based solutions in the way we tackle it. And just to echo one of my ministers, Zach Goldsmith, we need to rebalance the scales so natural options are considered equally alongside traditional infrastructure. Now, how do we do all of that? I've said sharing best practice is important. This is where the Adaptation Action Coalition, what it has at its absolute core. How do we share that best practice? And exactly as Ingrid said, the water tracker is absolutely at the core of that. How do we actually know what is doing, convening the right people together, focusing on the water tracker? I won't go into more on that because you're going to talk more on that later, Ingrid. We would like many more countries to join that and join the Adaptation Action Coalition. So if you know of countries who are thinking about it, please tell me, and we will go and pressure them as much as we can and explain why this is such a good thing to do. I hope this COP, as I said, becomes a big springboard for adaptation and for this at the absolute center of it. And finally, I just want to mention another event that you may be interested in. On Friday, the UK is launching the Glasgow Fair Water Footprint Declaration. And that's a partnership of governments, business and civil society to tackle the water crisis together. And it's really aimed at consumers and their global environmental footprint. My own personal view, to end this, is mitigation has been made retail. We all talk in terms of our own carbon footprint. Net zero. People know what it means for them. I think our challenge now on adaptation is making it really retail for people. So in their own personal decisions, their own businesses, when they re-roof their house or they buy a new set of gutters, they know what is coming for them on a 20, 30-year time scale, and you'll see a lot of data flowing around that, and they take those decisions. And that, I think, is our next challenge springing out of this COP. That's plenty for me, but thank you so much, Ingrid, and our partners in Agua for organizing this.
Thank you so much to Director Rangarajan for being here today and letting us know the press is on. The pressure is on for countries to take adaptation as seriously as they do mitigation, and that is something that we all know is incredibly important. So, as he mentioned, if you want more information about the AAC, you can speak to him, or you can also go to the Water Tracker website, which will be up at some point. So, Next up, so as we know, this is a fully hybrid conference. So we have lots of you here today, which is fabulous. But we also have a lot of speakers who are joining us remotely. And so next up, we have Mr. Henk Ovink, who is well known to most of us, but he is the Special Envoy for International Water Affairs with the government of the Netherlands to give some messages from the Dutch government. So Henk, there you are. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Ingrid. But also thanks, Vijay, for your inspiring call to other countries to join the Water Tracker. It's great to see you. I'm almost on the train towards Glasgow. It's going to take me some days, actually, because there's more, but I'll be there as of Thursday night. Thanks to the audience for joining us today at a special place. The first water pavilion ever at a COP. Opened its doors, well, not literally doors, but we are there to welcome the worldwide climate community. And this is what we need, making the match between water and climate. Talk and exchange ideas, and more important, accelerate and scale up on water and climate action. And of course, with that, a big thanks to AGWA, the Alliance for Global Water Adaptation, Global Water Partnerships, Sanitation and Water for All, and UNICEF, the partners that host this event on the Water Tracker. The Water Tracker is designed as a guide to enhance the role of water in national climate planning. So important. Mentioned in your remarks, Vijay, key to this program is the integrated approach, working cross-sectoral with intertwining governance structures. In the Water Tracker, connections are made. And this is what it's all about. We're not only bringing knowledge and experience together, we're combining adaptation actions, concrete actions, because we need to see impact on the ground, scaled up. For at this point, and Vijay already underlined what is at stake, that is what we need. Moreover, this is what we owe to future generations and the planet. Manageable solutions, innovations, and opportunities for future generations that we can replicate and scale across the world. Therefore, the Netherlands is delighted to announce that we will support the Water Tracker. And as part of the water work stream of the Adaptation Action Coalition, the Water Tracker will enable us to be a driving force to improve water resiliency and national planning towards a sustainable future, a resilient future, a climate equitable future, but also as a stepping stone towards the UN 2023 Water Conference. At this moment, 3 countries have joined the Water Tracker, and another 6 are interested. This is what magic is about. It will lead us in 6 steps to 192 countries. So it's only the beginning. We call out the Netherlands, the UK, and others to more countries, so that next year at COP27, we hope to announce that about 24 or 48 or 96 have engaged the Water Tracker. So we go from 3 to 6 and beyond. As the need is high, so are the ambitions. Therefore, we aim that in March 2023, at the UN 2023 Water Conference, the Water Tracker will be a robust and useful tool which countries can use to self-assess water resiliency in their climate plans. And by then, we hope to have well over 100 countries participating. How will we do this? For example, through all our programs and partnerships we already have. We have a Partners for Water program, working together in countries in Latin America, Asia, and Africa, increasing water security and water safety, especially dedicated to deltas and river basin level to protect supply chains, providing food, water, and energy. Our Water Tracker activities in Egypt and Indonesia, scaling up Water Tracker to countries like Colombia and Vietnam. In all these countries, we're working on coastal resiliency, water governance, and activities with communities on creating water solutions in agriculture, cities, and beyond. We are working cross-sectoral, inclusive, at the local level to offer an amazing opportunity to explore further steps. We try to be a front runner, but that is always tough. But at least in the way we forge coalitions and build partnership, together be front runners towards stepping stones like the UN 2023 Water Conference. We want to take real action on the ground. because only together with local partners, government, businesses and academia, NGOs and communities, can we make countries adapt better, with water as the great enabler, with water as the springboard for that sustainable climate action. And we have to use our national adaptation plans for funding policies and practices, replicating and scaling up solutions that matter. Creating perspectives for future generations, it's important. In line with the water tracker, the Netherlands will also support the CAST, the Adaptation Academy. Through the academy, professionals from developing countries can train their skills on, for example, technical capacity and coordination. Help them improve the national adaptation plans in their country. From plans to projects, projects to programs, programs to pipelines, impacting with this rippling effect. As we call upon you, young generation, to join my generation, we can prevent national adaptation plans that don't take into consideration water uncertainty, like floods as a consequence of heavy rainfall and droughts, which causes damaged crops and a GDP loss over years to come. So let's start here, right now, at this COP, working in partnership towards the next COP in 27, the next COP27 in Egypt, with the UN 2023 Water Conference as inside. Join us, for now is the time to act. We can and we must. Through water we can prepare. We have to do this together, scaling up action by scaling up this water tracker coalition in 6 steps to 192 countries. Best of success, lots of inspiration, forging partnerships, and look forward to see you in Glasgow end of this week. And thanks, and back to you, Ingrid.
Thank you so much, Henk, for those words. Always glad to have you, and we're really looking forward to seeing him later this week. And he also mentioned another project called the Adaptation Academy. If you would like to learn more about that, it's an initiative of the UNFCCC, my organization and others. There will be an event on Monday, the 8th of November in the afternoon, right back here in the Water Pavilion. You can learn all about that. Because we are, as he said, we are all about action, right? And so we have heard the call that we need to act now. We don't need to act in 10, 20, 30 years. What are we doing now? And the Water Tracker and Adaptation Academy are good examples of work that we are doing right now today. So next up, we are going to hear from another virtual speaker. We have Mr. Michael Krake, the Acting Director General of Global Health, Private Sector, Trade and Rural Development at the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to participate in this event and add some remarks to what Vijay and Henk just said. Let me start by stressing the point that the role of water is key for the NDCs and the NAPs. You know, nationally determined contributions, NDCs, and national adaptation plans, NAPs, this all sounds terribly technocratic, but these two things are the most powerful tools that we have to really generate climate action and to contribute to our climate goals. So Henk and Vijay already elaborated on the critical role water is playing as a critical resource for life on Earth, and it has obviously a very important role also in national climate planning. However, if we're honest, even though water is implicitly embedded in nearly all climate change plans and activities, the question remains as to whether the priority in the NDCs has been actually matched during implementation so far. You know, theoretically, we always know the Earth's ecosystem depends on water. Water is cross-sectoral, tied to economic prosperity and development. But sometimes I think it's fair to say that we have the feeling that this gets forgotten once we get into the actual planning processes. So we must highlight again that water management is critical for adapting to and mitigating climate change. Neglecting the integration of water throughout the formal processes of the Paris Agreement puts many of the actions and targets described within the NDCs at significant risk of failure. So therefore, we need to water the climate agenda, I would say. Water where climate policies can strengthen climate change mitigation and adaptation goals. We need water projects to be part of increasing climate ambitions as well. So the answer on how to enable tangible climate action by strengthening water into national planning processes has brought us here together. And I think the water tracker is an excellent example for this. And Germany is committed to enabling climate action related to water. As BMZ, we have pledged a total of 4.44 billion euros of international climate finance in the year 2020. And water is our second biggest adaptation sector. So it's roughly 18% of our bilateral adaptation finance that goes into the water sector. In our work, we focus on achieving water security and climate resilience through integrated water management approaches. So we see the Adaptation Action Coalition and the water tracker in particular as a kind of continuation of these efforts. I would call them, these two, they are bridges over the troubled waters that we're into with the climate crisis that we're facing. And Germany is a proud member of the Adaptation Action Coalition. Other members are here, and I hope we also have some future members in this event here. And so we see that this Adaptation Action Coalition really accelerates global adaptation action for climate resilience by 2030. We especially value its enablement of peer-to-peer learning from each other on a global level for effective climate adaptation. So the water tracker helps countries to water their national climate planning through self-assessment. It ensures meeting their goals as set out in their national climate planning. And for this reason, BMZ supported the water tracker's development by laying part of the scientific foundation of it. So we financed and published the report Watering the NDCs in 2020 for this. So I think it's great to have a water pavilion with the slogan Water for Climate. Let's make sure that this really holds true. So now is the time to really join forces in watering our national climate planning, and together we can deliver on tangible action on climate change adaptation through water. We hope for many more countries to join the water tracker journey. It is said that the most expensive thing you can do when it comes to climate change is do nothing. So please invest also in attractive tools like the water tracker, take them on your journey. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be here, and I'm looking forward for inspiration in this session.
Thank you so much, Herr Krake, for being here today and for the work that BMZ and GIZ has done. They have really been key partners for us for a number of years, not only on the water tracker, but on a number of initiatives, some of which he mentioned. So we're going to continue on with our speakers. Next up, we have Mrs. Monica Medina, who's the Assistant Secretary for Oceans and International Environmental Affairs with the United States Department of State. Ms. Medina, the floor is yours.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Monica Medina. I hope you can hear me okay. It's a little weird with the headphones, but I'm getting used to it. As I said, I'm Monica Medina, and I'm with our State Department in the United States, and I work on global health and climate. So, like you, that's why I'm here. And I'm very delighted to be here to represent the U.S. and to say and to show you that the U.S. is back. And I hope you're prepared, that's a hint, because I have a big announcement, a big U.S. announcement to tell you about. First, I want to talk a little bit about our presence here, just so that you know we're back. We will have 13 of our cabinet secretaries appearing here over the course of the week, and they will be making critical announcements about all the new initiatives that we're undertaking both at home in the U.S. and abroad, and many of those involve the critical subject we're here to talk about today, which is water. And I want to tell you that we are intending to stay engaged on this issue of water from now on. The U.S. is committed to putting together a whole-of-government approach and building capacity and expertise towards addressing adaptation needs, including knowledge, planning, and finance. We're also elevating our engagement on adaptation and building resilience towards the future. And why does this matter? Because water is life, and we know how important it is to life. We know that water security is fundamental to health, prosperity, and resilience, and yet millions around the world still face grave challenges. 2.2 billion people lack access to safe drinking water supplies. Over half the global population, that's 4.2 billion people, lack safely managed sanitation services. Nearly 300,000 children under 5 die every year from preventable diseases due to poor sanitation, poor hygiene, or unsafe drinking water. Think about that. 300,000 children die because they don't have safe sanitation and water to drink. And in recent years, we've seen water shortages that have been felt in major urban centers like Cape Town, South Africa, in India, in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in Iraq, and at home in the United States. As a result, the steps we take and the tools we design to solve water problems can provide a blueprint for addressing many of our future adaptation challenges while providing the foundation for healthy communities, economic prosperity, and resilience today. Getting this right will require leadership, regional cooperation, better use of data, stronger or more nimble institutions, innovative financing, as well as new approaches and thinking. As we can see from all of the discussion in the events today, and I'm learning a great deal about things like the Water Tracker Initiative, and I'm going to take that learning back and bring it to our government. That success isn't easy or without cost, and achieving the water-related sustainable development goals of the UN will require an estimated $1 trillion annually through 2030. What I'm pleased to tell you about the U.S. today is that we have quadrupled our climate finance commitment at the UN General Assembly meeting to $11 billion, of which we are now committing $3 billion to targeted adaptation. That's a massive opportunity to foster innovation and economic opportunity abroad. And today, the U.S. is very pleased to announce another new initiative in which water resilience will feature prominently. It's called the President's Emergency Plan for Adaptation and Resilience, or PREPARE. Let me make sure I've got this right. The President will work with Congress to provide $3 billion, as I said, in adaptation financing for PREPARE by 2024, in the largest U.S. commitment ever made to reduce climate impacts on those most vulnerable to climate change worldwide. Through PREPARE, the U.S. will act with urgency to significantly scale up adaptation efforts around the world to save lives, safeguard development, and reduce instability and the need for humanitarian aid. In much of the world, the time is ripe to build approaches such as water reuse into broader water and sanitation planning and financing efforts. Many low and middle-income countries still struggle with harmonizing and empowering decentralized decision-making structures, insufficient financing, lack of training, and other factors that are foundational to climate resilience, as we know. The United States is very proud to work with many of you to help countries achieve water security. We have a lot of work ahead of us, both within and outside of the water and climate sectors. But as we embark on an ambitious adaptation and resilience agenda through this new initiative, PREPARE, the President's initiative, PREPARE, that he announced actually earlier today in the meetings, the U.S. is committed to ensuring that water is a central part of water adaptation and our assistance efforts. So in closing, I just want to emphasize the obvious. We are here to elevate this work, to help water issues get the attention within the climate discussion that they richly deserve. The science could not be clearer that devastating impacts increase as we contemplate increasing temperatures beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius. We're feeling those impacts already, especially across our water systems. We need to deepen our engagement on water resilience, and that's why we're stepping up at a greater scale than ever before. And President Biden and our entire team, from Administrator Power to Secretary Yellen, our Secretary of the Treasury, to Special Envoy Kerry, and the whole cabinet are making climate change, including adaptation, an absolute priority in everything that we do. So I want to celebrate your work. I want to thank you all for all of that work. I want to say to you that the U.S. is here to partner with you, and we are prepared to partner with you, especially after today's big announcements. And I want to thank you for the chance to tell you about them here today. Thanks, Ingrid.
Thank you so much, Assistant Secretary Medina. And let me give you one of these so you can learn more about the Water Tracker and the work we are doing. As a fellow American, it is so exciting to hear some good news from my government. This is really, really fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to working with our colleagues at State and elsewhere on the Prepare program. And looking forward to learning more about it, since it was just announced today. So for all of you who weren't in the actual sessions earlier this morning here, now you're learning about it here at the Water Pavilion. So don't say we're not breaking any news. We've got some here too. So we're going to pivot a little bit from these great opening remarks that we've had to talk a little bit about what the Water Tracker actually is, what it does. One of the things that I think it was Hank who mentioned, water is often embedded in climate plans, but it's not always explicitly mentioned. And so one of the main things that we're trying to do with the Water Tracker is to understand where water fits on both the mitigation and adaptation side. So commitments that are made, where does water fit into that, not just in the water sector, because we know that actually water is primarily used outside of the water sector. And so how is that accounted for? And that's what we're trying to do with the tracker. So for this presentation, we're going to go back to the virtual world and hear from my colleague, Mr. Simon Two, who's the country engagement specialist, and he's going to give a presentation on the tracker itself. Simon, can you hear us?
Yes.
Is he?
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Simon.
So I'm going to give an overview of the utility of the tracker in Egypt, if you will allow me. Let me just see if I can share my screen.
Simon, we can see the presentation here. I think Kelsey's running it.
All right. So can we get to? Sorry. Yes. So to give a context of a context for just a moment. I'm having a bit of a challenge. Yes, the greatest challenge for Egypt is a rapid population growth, currently at about 1.5 million per year, and at the moment there's more than 105 million Egyptians. And this is expected to top also the impacts of climate change. Next, please. And when you look at the water tracker, we are not only using it for addressing issues around climate change, although this is extremely important. We are also looking at what are the key development challenges and targets, and how does water address this. And when we look at Egypt's development strategy, they're looking at expanding the Suez Canal, reclamation of more than 1.5 million Fedan, which is almost maybe about 500,000 hectares of land as part of a long-term plan to reclaim almost 1 million hectares. And then there is also planning to do more than 1 million new housing projects within the framework of housing, and then major storage works and development of minerals and development of priority areas, including the Sinai, the western North Coast, and the hinterland and South Egypt. And there is also ambition to construct a new administrative capital, all of which will require a great deal of water. And you know, Egypt is one of the most water scarce countries in the world. Next, please.
Simon, you're presenting the screen. Go ahead and go through the slides.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then the national priorities include improving the standards of citizens, empowering the youth, because almost 60% of the population is below 20, through provision of decent and productive job opportunities to build their skills in order to keep up with the demands of a competitive labor market, enabling infrastructure for development of micro, small, and medium enterprises, to provide substantial support to vocational education and training, and supporting the current production base and removing the barriers. And then the challenges to the water sector, some of which are climate related, include very heavy dependence on the Nile flows, on little rainfall in some part of the countries, and increasingly groundwater. In the agricultural sector, which is the largest user of water, two major crops, that is the wheat and maize, it's expected they will be reduced by almost 15% to 20% by 2050 due to temperature increase, irrigation water deficit, pests and plant diseases, and then 12 to 15% of the most fertile arable land in the Nile Delta is negatively affected by sea level rise and saltwater intrusion into this critical area. And again, climate change is expected to increase the seawater temperature, to shift fish production northwards and to deeper waters, and increased salinity in the coastal lakes is expected again to negatively affect fish species. And the coastal zone is expected to suffer from climate change direct impacts, including sea level rise and inundation on low level land. And it is expected that this that a rise by 50 centimeters will lead to serious impacts in the Delta area and the highly populated cities such as Alexandria and Port Said. Some of the plans in Egypt's NDC include maintaining water levels in Lake Nasser, increasing water storage capacity, improving irrigation and drainage systems, but also to change cropping patterns and farm irrigation systems and also reduce surface water evaporation by redesigning canal cross sections. And it is expected that there will be development of new water sources on the Upper Nile. And they're also looking at rainwater harvesting, desalination, and treating wastewater recycling, and increasing the use of groundwater reservoirs. And this will require increased investment in modern irrigation systems. But Egypt is also ambitious. It looks at itself as supporting other African countries, and in particular, they want to cooperate with other Nile Basin countries to reduce water evaporation and also to increase the river capacity, but at the same time develop national policies to encourage Egyptian citizens to a more rational use of water. And the water sector has is extremely important in Egypt. It has received the highest grant, for instance, from the Global Green Climate Fund through UNDP for water resources development. And this is supposed to assist in reducing the impact of coastal floods on the northern coasts of Egypt in the governorates of Port Said, Damietta, Dakhlia, Kafr, 5 of the key governorates which are facing the sea level rise. And it has been stated that Egypt is ready to host COP27 in 2022, where some of these activities will be showcased. And going forward, the water tracker will be used to support monitoring and coordination across different sectors and institutions. But in our initial work, we have found that there is still need for greater collaboration between sector ministries and agencies. And in particular, there is also need for multi-level governance between the national level ministries and agencies with the local administrative units. And this is also for planning and for implementation. And Egypt has set up a National Council for Climate Change, which seeks to work across the sectors to overcome the challenges of coordination. And this National Council is chaired by the Prime Minister. So yeah, that is my overview on the Egyptian situation and how the water tracker will be used.
Perfect. Thank you, Simon. Yes, we can clap for Simon. I don't know if you can hear us clapping, Simon, but hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. So that's some examples from one of the countries that has already been working to implement the tracker, Egypt, as we just heard. And they've already been doing a lot of work. And one of the things that we've been talking about with the Egyptians is exactly as what Simon mentioned there towards the end, about the need for greater integration and sectoral cooperation. And so that's a theme that's come up on a number of occasions and something that they are already taking into account. They have a lot of innovative programs, such as the one funded by the GCF that was mentioned previously. So next, I think we are going to transition to our Costa Rica example. So regrettably, the Vice Minister, Cynthia Barzuna, was unable to be here today. She had planned to be here, but her flight was canceled. So at the very last minute, our wonderful consultant, Mario Lopez Perez, is stepping in to give the presentation about the work that the Water Tracker is doing in Costa Rica. So Mario, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ingrid. As Ingrid said, on behalf of Cynthia Barzuna Gutierrez, Vice Minister of Water and Ocean Affairs from the Ministry of Environment and Energy of Costa Rica, I am authorized to give you her deepest apologies for not being present at the Water Pavilion with you, presenting this Costa Rica water tracker implementation as she had programmed due to traveling issues like flight cancellation and delays. Therefore, I am double honored to participate at the COP and represent Costa Rica in this water tracker event, and thank the Costa Rican government for this opportunity to present the water tracker implementation. Next slide, please. Why is important climate change for Costa Rica? Due to a series of socioeconomic factors, such as a strong dependency of human activities on water resources, Costa Rica is sensitive to climatic events and variations. As availability and demand of water will vary throughout the country, some sectors will face water stress situations while others will benefit from opportunities. Such is the case of the hydropower sector. Agriculture is one of the sectors more impacted by climate change. The region prone to droughts corresponds mainly to the Guanacaste province and is part of the dry corridor. This corridor stretches across Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, encompassing many agricultural land and highly vulnerable communities. According to the climate change scenarios for Costa Rica, you can see on the slide, there will be an increase in temperature as twice as much as agreed in the Paris Agreement by 2080. Also, on the other side, severe droughts in the Pacific and severe floods in the Atlantic will occur if we do nothing. So Costa Rica is one of the main countries that has strong commitments with climate change. These are the reasons. Within the implementation analysis we did for Costa Rica, we analyzed 5 climate instruments, climate change instruments. The 2 national determined contributions, 2015 and the updated 2020, the National Climate Change Adaptation Plan, 2017-2018, the National Climate Change Action Plan 2015, the National Climate Change Strategy 2009. But also we analyze water and climate, how they are embedded in the National Development Plan 2019-2022 and in the National Disaster Reduction Plan and the National Disaster Relief Policy 2016-2020. But also we analyze the National Integrated Water Resources Management Plan 2008. And we found that Costa Rica included the water resources topic. The next slide, please. We found out that Costa Rica had the water resources included in all its documents. Water has been present in all climate instruments and their impacts are very well understood. So Costa Rica understands the connection that water gives to climate and to the sectors. Recent documents, the NDC 2020 are more sensitive to the importance of local participation and the inequities faced by women. Generally, the proposed nature-based solutions benefit from the strong system of payment for environmental service that the country has. So these are only some of the key findings that are present in the documents of Costa Rica. However, Costa Rica understands that there are also windows of opportunity, areas for improvement within those documents. Valuable principles and ideas are mentioned throughout the climate documents, but are not strongly reflected in the proposed actions. They do know that. Links between water sector and the other sectors are not always well developed. Therefore, water requirements, water as an opportunity, are not specified in sectoral actions. Incredibly, in the hydroelectricity. So they consider that they can do it. However, is there enough water to comply with the proposed action? This is one of the key things that we found out. But also, water uncertainty is rarely reflected in the flexibility of proposed actions. In any case, Costa Rica is committed to improve their climate instruments. In the next phases, the next steps that Costa Rica will move forward are they will develop a matrix to align the different climate instruments and prepare a proposal to support the country's Paris Agreement commitments. Also, this analysis will enable to update the climate plans when Costa Rica issues them. Another output of the water tracker application for Costa Rica is the portfolio of multi-sector projects which can be prioritized and fed into the climate water resilient project pipeline to connect with climate finance institutions. But also, Costa Rica has a national information system on climate change in place. The information of the tracker will improve and provide information to consolidate the system. Next slide, please. I think you are showing a different presentation. Okay, go back. Okay, no, one forward. Okay, this. One of the things that it is important for Costa Rica is the adaptation successes they do have. One of them is the thing here, which is the National Information System for Integrated Water Resources Management. This system gives us information on data collecting, monitoring climatic factors, statistics, and technology. But it is being used as an example for decision-making for water planning and management focused on adaptation. The inclusion of the water tracker, the analysis provided by the water tracker will improve the information that will be included in this national information system. But also there's another example. Next one, please. Another adaptation example. The Guanacaste area. In the Guanacaste area, there is a program for water supply. It is a success because they provided water security, food safety, water for ecosystem, and sustainable use. It is encompassed with human rights to access of water, communal aqueducts. They provide water infrastructure. They increase food production with irrigation systems, and they provide novel but suitable technologies, promoting sustainability of ecosystems and conservation activities. So they improve with this project in the Guanacaste area the use of available water with priority on groundwater and the efficiency of water for water supply. Next one, please. I think you are showing a different presentation because I do not have that slide.
Okay, let me switch.
I think we're also running close to time as well.
Let
Mario,
me,
if you have some
yes, let me
wrap-up
give,
remarks. Yeah.
that's correct. The wrap-up remarks from the Costa Rica implementation is Costa Rica efforts to meet international agreements regarding mitigation and adaptation to climate change have been undeniable. It is also important to mention that the strong ecosystem conservation agenda of the country has contributed to make its climate action more robust. An example of this is the Earthshot Prize that the Royal Foundation gave to Costa Rica recently this year. So it is undeniable that Costa Rica has made progress and will continue to be a leader for not only for Latin America, but also for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mario, for that presentation. Indeed, we do want to congratulate Costa Rica for being a very deserving recipient of the Earthshot Prize this year. So very well done to them. It's clear from the work that you showcased that they really are true leaders. And so next, we want to hear from another country. We are going to hear from Malawi. So we have with us today, we are very honored to have Mrs. Nancy Tembo, who is the Minister of Forestry and Natural Resources for the Republic of Malawi. She is here in person today. So Minister Tembo, the floor is absolutely yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me. For us, the water sector in Malawi is facing challenges. This is because of weather events, extreme weather events, but also a rapidly growing population. We have positioned water as a solution to climate change, despite the many challenges that we have. We intend to achieve this through efficient use of water, by practicing water demand management approaches, reuse of partially treated wastewater for agriculture and industry, conserving and managing our water catchments, this through tree planting. Because of the rapidly growing population, we have degraded most of our landscapes. And in recent years, our rivers have dried up, but in areas where we have replenished the catchments, where we have done restoration, we've seen our rivers flowing back. So that is a major challenge for the country. We would like to have our river banks restored. We are also using, trying to use energy-intensive treatment and distribution methods that contribute to carbon emissions. We're using solar pumps rather than using diesel pumps, encouraging the use of solar pumps, and scaling up construction of water infrastructure that promotes climate resilience like dams and high-yielding boreholes, amongst others. We have a national adaptation program of action which has identified the water sector as one of the developmental sectors that are affected by climate change. I was talking about construction of dams. In these dams, what we have done is to have an integrated approach to the dams. In these dams, we do water harvesting, but we also do fisheries in these dams. We are promoting aquaculture. We are using these dams for irrigation, agriculture. And so it is an integrated approach across ministries within our government. In addition, the scientific evidence of the impact of climate change in Malawi has featured more on the water sector through the occurrence of dry spells. Flash floods in the lower Shire of the country have made the lower Shire be, apart from the floods, we have a lot of degradation. And in the lower Shire, which is the lower part of our country, we have, that's where we generate most of our electricity. But because of the flooding and because of degradation, we've seen that our power generation of the hydro is being affected. So what I said earlier about restoring our landscape is critical to ensuring that we continue to generate power from our rivers. What then that does is promotion of adaptation and mitigation measures in water resources through promotion of the rainwater harvesting technologies, the development of dikes in flood-prone areas, and management of the whole river system. Besides, the National Climate Change Investment Plan has highlighted and integrated a watershed management program as one of the adaptation measures to climate change in the water sector. The government has also identified water sector as one of the socio-economic development activities. Like I said earlier on, our rapidly growing population means that we have a whole age group, our youth, needing job creation. And so through water harvesting activities, we are ensuring that our youth also get jobs, get employed. Through these water harvesting facilities, we're ensuring that our women who oftentimes they have to travel far to draw water, they have access to water within reach. And because of access to water, having water nearby through the harvesting of water, the girl child is able to go to school. Culturally, in Malawi, it's the mother and the girl that will provide water to the family. And oftentimes they have to travel like a kilometer away to draw water for the home. But having these dams close to homes, it means that then the girl child is able to have access to water and go to school and continue with school. We expect that the girl child then continues the school, does a 12-year school cycle. So that helps us with the development, helps us to ensure that we have a literate nation that is able to understand things. We think that in the long term, this also makes sure that we do not have the rapid population growth that we currently have. We have a growth of 4% per annum, which is huge in that part of Africa. The main challenge of converting our policies into action has been sector coordination. We find that we in the forest and natural resources are doing one thing. We are encouraging restoration. And you go to the Ministry of Agriculture, which is a separate ministry, they encourage treadle pump irrigation, which means they are degrading our riverbanks. And we are saying do not do any cultivation within 30 meters of the riverbank. And yet the other ministry has a contradicting policy. So this is something that we are trying to work out. But also inadequate financing. We do not have adequate financing for the construction of infrastructure for water harvesting, even to conduct projects, to roll out our restoration activities. So financing is a challenge, and we need to invest in this thing and invest in adaptation measures. The water tracker, for us, which is aimed at identifying gaps in existing national plans, adaptation plans, and improving climate adaptation planning related to water resources. In this regard, we expect that the water tracker will be able to assist in tracking the implementation of the planned water activities in the national climate plans for presenting the action plans that can promote sector coordination and financing of activities. We anticipate that once the planned water activities have been isolated from the climate plans, it will be easier to monitor and evaluate the implementation of the activities. This will be done through a monitoring and evaluation framework matrix linked to a budget line and implementation schedule. Using the budget line, it will be possible to prioritize activities to be done in short-term, medium-term, and long-term periods. We hope that the water tracker will help to reduce and increase the time of planning and implementation of the water activities, respectively, in the face of climate change. In this way, it will be possible to achieve a water-secure Malawi that is resilient to climate change. We therefore welcome the use of the water tracker to achieve our climate plans, especially in the water sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister Tembo, for those remarks. And I want to highlight something that you said in there, talking about in water harvesting the role of youth and engagement and jobs and the importance of that. That's something that hasn't been touched on by any of the other countries and is really, really critical and something that we're also thinking a lot about. So I hope these kind of country presentations of the work that's being done already have been interesting and informative to you. Just to let you know, if you would like to learn more, we have country profiles for each of the countries, Egypt, Malawi, and Costa Rica, up on the website already. I think there will be a slide at the end, but the website is www.watertracker.cc. And we're now going to go to closing remarks. We're going back to Egypt, so everyone's getting a lot of frequent flyer miles today. From Malawi back to Egypt with Dr. Mohamed Abdelati, who is the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation in the government of Egypt.
Dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure today to participate in the event Water Pavilion, the water tracker for national climate planning, taking place on the sidelines of the COP26 in Glasgow, a significant initiative of Egypt and UK-led Adaptation Action Coalition. Increasing water scarcity could threaten the entire 2030 agenda for sustainable development, since water is a cross-cutting element affecting not only SDG 6 related to water, but also Zero Hunger Goal 2 and Health Goal 3, Sustainable Cities and Communities Goal 11, and the Climate Action Goal 13, Life on Land Goal 15, and others. Also, water is a crucial element in climate change adaptation and mitigation, the global climate crisis is closely linked to water, as 90% of all disasters are water related. It is also essential to place water at the center of resilient climate planning. However, and despite of these evidences, water has not been significantly considered in the climate change negotiation as in Paris Agreement. Allow me to shed the light on the challenges my country is facing and demonstrate examples of good adaptation practices in Egypt, and especially the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation. In fact, 95% of our projects are recognized as adaptation and mitigation measures at the same time. Egypt is highly vulnerable to climate change, which puts the country under severe pressure caused by sea level rise and saltwater intrusion in the north, flash floods, in addition to uncertainty of the impact of climate change on the Nile flow, originating from outside borders. The associated risks touch several sectors where water plays a major role, like economy, social and environmental sustainability, agriculture and food security, energy, human health, coastal zones, and infrastructure. Egypt is one of the most hyper-arid countries around the world. We only receive 1 billion cubic meter of rainfall. The Nile River is the main source of life for Egyptians, since it represents more than 97% of Egypt's renewable water resources. The major challenge is to balance the gap between the water resources and availability and the rising demand of fresh water in the light of the current and the future challenges, including unilateral upstream development, pollution increase, climate change impact and its implications within the country and outside the borders. Accordingly, Egypt has developed an ambitious national water resources plan till 2037 that would cost initial estimates $50 billion US, but with current development activities, this will reach 100 billion US dollar. That represent a challenge to mobilize. This investment's main objective to achieve water security, and this is also a major challenge to mobilize the fund again. The ministry is implementing numerous mega projects in order to face the current water challenges, and in terms of combating climate change as rationalizing water use, increase water use efficiency, and maximize return from each unit of water. These projects include national projects for the rehabilitation of canals and tertiary canals, MESCAs. The national project for shifting from flood irrigation to modern irrigation systems, as well as several major projects in the field of water treatment and reuse, with a total treatment capacity of 15 million cubic meter per day, such as the projects to benefit from Bahr al-Bakr drain in the eastern delta. The treatment capacity is 5.6 million cubic meter per day. The project to benefit from the water in the west delta drains through Hammam treatment plant, treatment capacity 7.5 million cubic meter per day, and many others, in addition to intermediate 430 mixing stations. This reuse of water actually with a high salinity level reaches up to from 3 to 7,000 ppm. On the other hand, we implemented more than 1,500 flash flood protection works, 230 kilometers of shore protections work. On the regional level, it is crucial to ensure transboundary dimension addressing climate change adaptation, given that Egypt is the most downstream country. Is very sensitive to any uncoordinated projects that might cause significant harm to downstream countries if managed unilaterally. However, GERD could be a model for regional cooperation, following principles of international law, and only if a balanced, fair, and legally binding agreement is reached for filling and operation of the dam between the three countries, Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. And this will ensure energy supply for Ethiopia, protection from floods in Sudan, securing water resources for Egypt. Last but not least, I would like to emphasize the fundamental role of water as a major pillar for sustainable development. Egypt is assuming the presidency of COP27 in 2022. And it is of utmost importance to incorporate water as main component of COP. Water and its implications are crucial for human rights. They must be properly and adequately reflected within climate agreement and its related processes. Egypt is looking forward to host COP27 on behalf of the African continent, and we will work to make a significant turning point in climate partnership with all interested parties for the benefit of African continent and the world. And again, mobilizing funds and securing sustainable financing instruments are the key elements towards success of the climate agenda. Meanwhile, we are considering the organization of Cairo Water Week as a core activity of COP27. Also, the Cairo Water Week in 2022 has been titled Water on the Top of Global Climate Agenda. This is a significant and remarkable sign on how the government of Egypt is committed and prioritizing water in the climate agenda. Thank you very much and wish you all a successful event.
Shukran Gazilan. Thank you very much to to Dr. Mohammed for his remarks. We are well out of time for this event. We've gone a little bit over, so I'm going to wrap it up very quickly just by thanking all of our speakers once again. Thank you for being here today. Learn more about the water tracker. We've got cards here in the pavilion, or you can go to www.watertracker.cc. And thanks especially to the governments of the UK and the Netherlands for sponsoring this project. And we really look forward to joining everyone next year at COP27 in Egypt, where we can learn more about what the countries have done between now and then. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great COP26.